Good morning. Good morning, fire signs. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Fire signs, fire signs, fire signs. Today we're going to be doing Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And I pulled out a deck I haven't used in a while, which is the Tarot of the Holy Light. I really love the symbolism in this deck, and the readings all went really long yesterday, so I have a lot to talk about when I use those cards, which I like being able to do. For the extended readings this week, over on the members side of the channel, I am going to be using this kardia. It is a variety of moonstone that is green in color. There are a few little flashes in here, but mostly I just really like the color and texture of this stone. So I will be using it for scrying this week. And I found this Palo Santo scented candle made with a coconut soy wax blend. I found that at Target. It smells really good, actually. I don't think it smells as good as the Ormsby Homes candle that I was burning last week, but it still smells really good. I completed a couple of videos also yesterday. I will have the Ali Man's Tarot unboxing coming out on Friday of this week, and then Friday of next week will be the Q&A. So that one is already filmed, but if you want to submit questions for the next Q&A, the sooner that fills up, the sooner I'll do a new video. So let's just kind of clear the space and get into the mind frame for reading, if you would, with me, please. Okay. So go ahead and take some deep breaths. Inhale and hold it for a minute. And then exhale. Just sigh out any tension or stress. And inhale again, and this time imagine the divine white light of Source filtering down through the crown of your head, down through your entire body, down through the soles of your feet, and into the ground below. And then as you exhale, just release all that tension and stress back to Source, and it will be transmuted. And let's do one more. So go ahead and inhale. Again, imagine your body being completely filled by the divine white light of Source. And if you want to, you can envision that at each chakra point center, that the color of that chakra is glowing and growing in intensity. And then as you exhale, just sigh out and release any tension you might be feeling. singe my hair while I'm trying to smell my candle. So we are going to start with the fire sign of Aries. This could be Aries, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, depending on what you would like to know about today. And I'm just going to shuffle your cards a bit. I do eventually want to use the Alleyman's Tarot in one of these videos, but it's a huge deck, so I want to make sure I'm familiar with it, at least somewhat first. And Aries, allow to rise to the forefront of your thoughts anything that you'd like to find out about in the reading. And again, if these things are something that you find stressful, just go ahead and gently breathe through that energy. Release that tension to source and allow it to be transmuted. Oh, we have a lot of uprights so far. Some major arcana. So the correspondences in this deck are slightly different. These are not Golden Dawn correspondences. So I kind of blend them together sometimes depending on the interpretation that I'm going for. Or how it feels like it should be communicated. Let me write down your timestamp before I forget. Okay. Aries, in the past, we have the Lover's card upright. So this can mean a couple of things. We see the profane down here, the sacred up here. This union of sun and moon can be choices between hooking up in the grotto or going for a nice walk, something a little more tame and subtle. It can also be about a choice between two different people in a love situation, possibly two different jobs, two different paths. The Lovers in this deck is associated with the astrological sign of Taurus. So that lends to it somewhat stability. Taurus is the home of one of the homes of the planet Virgo. Let me start that sentence over. I apologize. Taurus is one of the signs in which the planet Venus is native. So that would align it with the Lover's card. Fertility, fecundity, all of these things that have to do with proliferation from source through alchemical combination. So that is going to be something that you would have experienced in the recent past. And this would be a situation that is continuing into the present, the current state of affairs. So let's see what's going on there. In the place of the significator, we do have the Two of Discs, and that is going to be the second decan of Capricorn. So another earth sign. And we also have that decan is ruled by the planet Venus. So more Venusian energy. Now, Venus is not just about romance. Venus can also be about your paychecks, where your paychecks are coming from, and the fecundity of your bank account, the virility of your debit card, so to speak. So, the Two of Pentacles here can be about balancing that, balancing your work life with your passions and your romantic life. The Two of Pentacles also, because we saw this Lover's card in the recent past, Venus could be making her presence known here because of a business arrangement that has been made. This could be a business partnership for you, Aries. Aries was coming up in one of the water sign readings a lot yesterday. It might have been Cancer. Might have been Scorpio. I don't quite remember, but you might want to go and watch the water sign readings. So the Ten of Discs is our crossing energy. And this again is Earth energy. So we've got a lot of Earth energy. We've got a lot of Venus energy already in the reading as well. The Ten of Discs is legacy wealth. So if you are dealing with a business partner, the outcome could be this legacy wealth, or the partner or yourself might have a large reserve of legacy wealth to dip into at this time, Aries, in order to fund whatever venture you are going to be participating in moving forward. Okay, I think Aries, you were showing up a lot in the Scorpio reading. So if you wanted to go back to yesterday's water signs reading, and the timestamps are, of course, down in the description. If you wanted to watch that, I recommend it. So now we're going to talk about the MMCLI. And when I read the Celtic Cross spread, I like to imagine that there's a 12 houses wheel laid out over the Celtic Cross. So when we look at the MMCLI, that represents the origins and the foundations upon which future events will be built. And what we have down there is the Three of Cups in the reverse. So we're looking at the energy of the last decan of Cancer here, and that is ruled by Jupiter. It is a proliferation of our interactions with other people, emotional connection with other people, the growth and expansion of that. So where we see the Three of Cups in the reverse, if you have a close-knit friend group that you're a part of, you might be withdrawing from them at this time in favor of this new situation coming through. There's a lot of pentacles. The Two of Pentacles. So the 10 of Pentacles divided by the 2 of Pentacles is the 5 of Pentacles. And so that card is not, that card's not showing up here in the reading. But where we are trying to achieve this balance, and there's already this legacy wealth in place, which is already pretty balanced, there can be ways in which that 5 of Pentacles might creep into your life in ways that you don't expect. And this might be one of those ways. If you are having a tendency toward being a workaholic, for example, and you are ignoring your friends because of that, or you think that you need to put a lot of work and effort into this relationship or business partnership in order to maintain that, and it is costing you your friendships, I would caution you about that at this time. But we haven't looked at the midheaven yet. So it's important to look at that first before I really give you the full advice on that. Here, from your perspective, we have his name is Arrogance. And I don't remember his name offhand, but this is one of the archons. I don't remember his name in Coptic or Greek offhand, but his English name is Arrogance. And this is the King of Cups card. And here, in fact, we do have the King of Cups striving to bring these two forces together, the sun and the moon. This would be Scorpio energy too. So now we've got Scorpio showing up in your reading, Aries. Like, this shouldn't be something that you have to force. The sun and the moon coming together like that. Like, they already want to be together. Maybe he's trying to hold them apart. And that really would be arrogance and folly to think that one could hold them apart. The King of Cups is a provider. This could be somebody who is a mentor to others. Somebody who would be successful enough in their own right that they could take care of other people, room and board, buying you meals, taking care of you, being paternal towards you, being avuncular towards you. That's a word referring to your uncle. So at this time, Aries, you might be seeing yourself as being put in that provider position. Now, from an outside perspective, we have you, Aries, showing up as the Queen of Wands. And she is here in the reverse. So again, one thing I pointed out to Scorpio yesterday is that we have this eagle here. And I think the eagle has to do with Mars because it also can represent Scorpio in the tarot. And Aries and Scorpio are linked by that Mars energy under the archaic astrology systems. So now, of course, Scorpio is much more associated with the planet Pluto, but in arcane astrology, the correspondences were just a little bit different. Hi, countries of the world. How are you today? It's good to see you. Thank you for coming. Where we have the Queen of Wands showing up reversed, people might think that you are gossiping. People might think you're talking about others behind their backs or being unnecessarily catty. But that isn't necessarily the case. Again, what we're looking at is a situation where maybe you are withdrawing from your social groups because you want to be able to provide for others, and you feel like this situation needs to command more of your energy at this time. So, Queen of Wands, it could also just be that people perceive that you're withdrawing from social situations, that you are not granting your light to their lives. And there might be things ascribed to that may or may not be the case. So be aware of that. And I do hope you will forgive my gravelly throat. It is allergy season here in California. And while the allergies here are not anywhere near as bad as where I moved here from, I still do get some effects of allergies. So here in the future, we've got another earth sign showing up. It's a Taurus. And we have this King of Discs energy. And it's in the reverse. So Aries, The potential is here for you to have a lot of financial stability and security in the future. The King of Discs is air of earth energy, and it is I beg your pardon, it is a person or an energy of fulfillment and gratification where finances are concerned. This is a balance between that active energy of the air and the passive energy of the earth. Very nicely balanced. Those are opposing forces in the elemental scheme of things. So the potential for that is absolutely there in the future. It is not guaranteed. Nothing I say is guaranteed. Nothing I say will ever supersede the power of your own free will either. But where we see this card showing up here in the reverse, it means that the potential is there, but there might be more work that needs to be put in, or there might be some situations that need to work themselves out before that will be able to come to fruition. Here in the hopes and fears, we have the Knight of Cups in the reverse, and this is Pisces energy. So your neighbor in the astrological wheel, the ending as you are the beginning, Aries. The Knight of Cups reversed can be about not feeling like you can trust your gut, not feeling like you can trust your instincts and your intuition, which, of course, will make it more difficult for you to be effective if you feel like you can't. You'll always be second guessing yourself. So I would work on that a bit, because it looks like, and we'll get to the next couple of cards, that you probably can trust yourself. This might be very tough. As I was saying, I would caution you against alienating yourself too much from your friend group. But a good group of friends is going to understand, and they're going to want good things for you. They're not going to be thinking that there's anything weird going on, and that's why you're not hanging around with them anymore. Because when we get here to the midheaven, we have the Chariot, and the Chariot is mobility. The Chariot is also victory. And we have in this deck that the Chariot is associated with the sign of Gemini, the twins, duplication, that you have two possible paths that you can take, both of them leading to victory. So that's kind of bringing it full circle here from the Lover's card. This evolution then to the victory that can come from either one of those paths. Now, the fact that the Chariot is showing up in the upright means that this energy is a little bit more predestined, that you might be able to see the means by which this would already be occurring. But as I mentioned, nothing in these tarot readings is guaranteed. If it resonates with you, I'm very happy that it does. But if it doesn't, that's understandable. It's a general reading. Not everybody's going to be going through the same situations. The final outcome for your reading today, Aries, is the Fool card. The Fool card in this deck is associated with solar energy. We have, instead of the little white bear, we have a bear, or instead of the little white dog, we have a bear cub as the protector companion. The bear cub being very young, being very impressionable still. We have some of these centers of the body marked here, the loins, the solar plexus, the heart, the third eye, that you do have a certain amount of awareness. You will be able to trust your gut moving forward. So whatever your fear is about that, I would not harbor that feeling. I would not be second guessing yourself constantly, because with the Fool card here, you're going to be trusting more with your gut and with your heart than you would be with your logic. And the Sun card is a very good energy. It means that everything is going to turn out just great for you, Aries. So good luck, good luck, good luck. I think you will do just fine. That is going to conclude the Aries reading for today. And now I will be moving on to the sign of Leo, the astrological sign of Leo. And I wanted to mention that I will be going, after I do all of the fire sign readings, over to the member side of the channel and doing some crystal scrying for fire as a general element. And if that interests you, you are cordially invited. This is the stone I will be using. But of course, your presence here is greatly appreciated in whatever form it takes. So Leo, if you would, just relax. You can take some deep breaths if you like. Close your eyes if you want. And just allow anything that you'd like to find out more about in the reading. Allow those things to gently float up to the forefront of your thoughts. Don't worry too much about any of these things. If you find them causing you stress, just take some deep, gentle, relaxing breaths, and with each exhale, just release that stress. Just allow it to return to source, and it will be transmuted therein. All right, Leo. Let's see what is in store for you this week. Let me write down your timestamp. And I need to take a sip of tea because try to keep my throat clear despite my allergies. I apologize. Okay. So let's get started. In the past, Leo, here in the past for you, we have the Ace of Cups, and it's showing up reversed. This is going to be the first decan of the sign of Cancer, ruled by its ruling body of the moon. We have this fish here. We have this beautiful fountain. We have the sun and moon balanced, and we also have this moon looking down from above. Aqua. So element of water, absolutely. And it can be about getting in touch with your own emotional states. Really getting to the root of who you are inside. Excuse me. So Cancer energy is a lot about the reciprocity between yourself and other people, emotionally speaking. And where we have the Ace of Cups, that can be developing new relationships with other people, but it can also be that internal dialogue, not just the monologue, but different parts of the self communicating with each other and figuring each other out. So by proxy of that, then can extend to the higher power and one's relationship with the higher power. So super ego, and the id. Now, because this card is showing up in the reverse, it looks like you have pretty much figured that part out. We have this new beginning that has already kind of come to fruition, and now we are moving into further stages of that progress. So let's see what that looks like. I did have a flopper, and it was the moon card here. So the moon is a very watery card. In this particular deck, however, it is associated with the air sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius has to do with social groups, it has to do with novelty. So again, looking at some of the things we were talking about with the Ace of Cups, right? These new social groups, forming new bonds with people. But that can be very complicated. It can be very complex to get to know people. And we don't always get along with each other. We have the feral dog beating up on the poor domesticated dog here. We have these towers. What's inside the towers? There's no way of knowing. You have to know the right people to get in there, right? So the moon card shows that your way at this time has become cloudy, has become unclear, that it might be a bit hazardous, and you might be seeking a source of illumination for your path. So the crossing card that we have here is the Queen of Swords, and in this deck associated with the sign of Libra. The Queen of Swords is someone who is putting their own truth out there, needing to speak one's own truth. It's very much about the throat chakra that we have this energy. The Queen of Swords, even if it means that someone gets beheaded, must come out with her own truth. Now, this could be you needing to speak your truth at this time to clear the path and to bring illumination in your social groups. Because even if you don't get along with everyone, it's much more important that you figure out if you're actually friends with somebody or if you just kind of share space with one another. Do you really care what this person has going on? Do they maybe have some ideologies that are problematic that you don't really endorse? We can all have differences of opinion, certainly. But what kind of a person are they? Are they the kind of person that you want to have around you? So speaking your truth is very important in that case. Now, we have a lot of air energy here with these two cards. Air energy, of course, being about communication and also being about one's powers of logic and objectivity and discernment. Let's look down here at the MMCLI. So when I read the Celtic Cross spread, I like to have a 12 houses wheel laid out on top of it in my mind. So down at the bottom, we have the MMCLI, which is the origins and foundations upon which the midheaven, which is the goal or destiny, will be built. Down here in the MMCLI, we have the Six of Pentacles, and it's in the upright. And this card is going to be the first deacon of Taurus, and that is ruled by Venus energy. So when we're looking at Libra, we're looking at Venus in relationships. When we look at Taurus, we are looking at the financially proliferative powers of Venus, the fertility of one's bank account. The Six of Discs is about having more than enough for yourself. It is about the ebb and flow of resources in and out of your life. And we see that a little bit with the moon card too, right? Because the moon itself has cycles. We have the full moon, which is the greatest amount of light. We'll be having a full moon on Friday of this week, which is March the 18th of 2022 when I'm recording this. These are, however, timeless readings, so if you find it at a later date, I trust that it will be the right time for you. So the Six of Discs, you could be investing in things. You could be taking care of others, giving to charity, but it generally means that more money is flowing in for you at this time than is flowing out, and therefore you have a surplus, a bounty that you are able to share with others. Let's look now here at your perspective. We have the Nine of Swords reversed, and this is going to be another air sign card where we have Mercury in Gemini, so that is the first decan of Gemini. These are some early energies, the Six of Discs and the Nine of Swords. So we have this eagle. Eagles in the tarot can represent the sign of Scorpio as well. And the eagle is chained. It could also be a reference to the myth of Prometheus, where eagles, I believe, were pecking out his liver daily because he was chained to a rock. But that's a little vague. I don't know if that's what we're really looking at here. The eagle, symbolizes Scorpio, can symbolize freedom, can symbolize martial efforts. So armies, the power that a ruler holds through his military is another way of looking at the eagle. And here we have those things bound. So having to do with concern, worry, and stress. And where we have this card showing up in the reverse, it could be that you are shedding your cares at this time. That things which might have worried you at some point in the past are no longer of any concern. And this could even have to do with things like your might, your power, not worrying about that, not worrying about how powerful you might be, or whether you will be able to move freely. Those things not being a concern for you at this time. From an outsider's perspective, looking in, we have the Star card. Now, typically the Star card is Aquarius because the person depicted on the card is bearing water, much like the constellation of Aquarius. In this deck, the Star card is associated with the planet of Mercury. So we do have the caduceus over here. And we could even imagine that this might be the figure of Mercury themselves. The original non-binary icon, of course. We have this pelican or other type of waterfowl up here. It's a little difficult to tell exactly what kind of bird that is. So a lot of water imagery combined with that air imagery. And that was kind of what we were seeing in the early part of your reading. That we have this water energy with the Ace of Cups transitioning into the air energy with the Moon and the Queen of Swords. So the Star card does have to do with one's social groups also. And it can have to do with your hopes and dreams being fulfilled. So, things that Mercury is very good at: communication, movement. Mercury is a very fast moving planet, so much so that it often appears as though it is going backward because of our relationship to where it is. So, swift movement would be implied by this version of the star card, and would also be indicating that we have the 8. So we have the sun here with the 7 stars, that being in the tarot. Sorry. Okay, there we go. That being in the tarot, part of the cycle of completions. So the 8th house being where the cycle switches over. And people could be seeing that for you at this time, Leo, that you're much more mobile, you are communicating more with others, and that many of your hopes and dreams are being fulfilled at this time. Here in the future, we have another air sign card. I do have to say that despite the beautiful artwork of the cosmic egg guarded by the snake, and where we have, the relationships of the letters as prescribed by the Sefer Yetzirah here in the background, the Three of Swords is really one of my least favorite tarot cards to get in a reading because it has to do with argument and strife. Here we're talking about the last decan of the sign of Libra, which is ruled by Mercury. And that, of course, being the communication surrounding things having to do with our partnerships, legal cases, open enemies, all of those types of things. So, where we have this Three of Swords showing up in the reverse in the future, we do have the potential there for strife, for conflict. Now, this is not the outright combat that you see with the Five of Swords, but it's arguments, it's disagreements. The Three of Swords, when I have gotten it in readings, often represents problems in relationships that really don't have solutions. So the potential for that does exist here, Leo, in the future. But this card being in the reverse, this is not as much of a preordained energy. And of course, as I like to say, always, 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 nothing I say in these readings is going to supersede the power of your own free will. So let's look at your hopes and fears. In this particular deck, the Death card is associated with water energy. I'll turn it upside down so you can see. We do have this figure. This dragon, I think, represents the worms that eat corpses. So being devoured by this dragon, and the dragon being like the decay, the worms, the scavenger and decomposer species that take care of us after death. Here in the background, we see this figure who's clad very much like this figure here in the foreground, right? So somebody fleeing from this situation. We have another figure here who looks to be disposing of this corpse ceremonially in a fire. And this figure back here, this could be a Saturnian type figure, watching this occur. This would have been somebody who died in the battlefield. We do have their armor sitting off here to the side. This could be the discorporated spirit And we see these figures of death looming large over the entire frame, such that everything about us is supervised by fate. So, where we have this card showing up in the reverse, in your hopes and fears, you are afraid that no one is watching. You are afraid that things are going to stay the same, Leo. Nothing ever stays the same. Everything is always going to open up and change. Here, too, as I mentioned, I like to have that 12 houses wheel laid out over the Celtic cross spread. So, where we have the hopes and fears card showing up, that is also going to be aligned with the 8th house of transformations. So, having the death card showing up in the reverse in the house of transformations may also be an indicator that that change is nigh. You might not be seeing it yet, but you might be seeing it very soon. So, here in the midheaven, that is going to be the eventual goal or destiny. And it's going to be heavily based on this 6 of Pentacles that we saw down here in the Imam Sili. And the card that we have showing up in the midheaven for you, Leo, is the 8 of Cups, and it is in the reverse. It is the last decan of Pisces, so that is ruled by the planet Mars. Very fiery planet, an action-oriented planetary energy, whereas Pisces is very going with the flow. It is a mutable water energy. That creates tension, turmoil, strife. We see rising up from this basin what looks like spermatozoa. So, like some kind of alchemical transformation of this particular basin of water is taking place. And the figure executing this alchemical change is back here. So we have the sun and the moon. The moon, however, is superseding the sun, but the sun does have the mobility associated with it. So the 8 of Cups is about having to leave a situation. Again, a transformational energy within a situation. We have 2 8s here, actually. So the 8 for your midheaven, and we also have an 8 for your final outcome card. And this 8 of Swords, again, we have these oppositional type energies. So we've got the last decan of Gemini, which is ruled by Saturn. And that is going to be air energy, which is very active, then being countered by the Saturnian energy, which is very grounding, very establishing. As I mentioned before, the planet Mercury, which is Gemini's ruler, has to do with action, communication, swift movement, right? And Saturn is very counter to these things. So we're seeing a lot of these transitional energies here for you in the future. And these cards are showing up in the reverse, showing that there's a lot of potential there, but that we don't yet really see how it's going to come into fruition. The 8 of Cups can be, as I mentioned, I think before, about leaving a situation and kind of going it alone. So whereas on the 6 of Swords, which is also about departure and movement, we have 2 people in the boat, or sometimes even 3. The 8 of Cups is a very solitary card. The 8 of Swords can be about feeling trapped. But in this particular case, because it is showing up as the final outcome in the reverse, I think that you will be released from a situation from which you feel trapped. Remember, we did have the death card showing up in the reverse here, indicating that there might be fears that things will never change, that everything will remain the same, and that having implications of being trapped. I don't think these two cards necessarily, even though they're both air sign cards, I don't think that they are necessarily about the same thing. The Three of Swords is going to be the potential for argument, the potential for disagreement, but it's really going to depend on what energy you bring to the table. So remember, we were talking about that with this Ace of Cups that you went through in the past, and how we were talking about the Moon card and the Queen of Swords. It's going to be important to maintain your truth, and you will find ways to do that that will not lead to outright conflict. So the final thing that I will say about this Eight of Cups is this could be the potential for a move, the potential for leaving one's job, or the potential to leave a relationship, or a situation in general. And the potential is there. But the outcome overall is going to be up to you, and it is going to be based on the fact that you are not coming from a place of scarcity. All right, Leo, so that is going to conclude your reading for this week. I do want to mention that after I do the Sagittarius reading, I will be going over to the members side of the channel and doing some crystal scrying with this piece of garnierite, which is a variety of moonstone. So if that interests you, you are cordially invited, but your presence is appreciated in whatever form it takes. So now let me move on to the sign of Sagittarius. And Sagittarius, if you would like, just kind of allow any thoughts that you have to float up to the forefront of your thoughts. Things that you'd like to find out about in the reading. Let's see if I can get it to focus on me by blocking out all these other parts of the light. If I have to turn my servo off and back on in a minute, I'll do that. Let me get these cards shuffled a bit first. It's kind of focused on my book back there. Let's see if I can. I'll fix it in a moment. So Sagittarius, just allow those thoughts to float up to the forefront of your mind. If you find them stressful or troubling, just kind of gently breathe through that energy. And then, there we go. As you exhale, you can release that stress, that tension back to source. Hi, Juan. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming. You're just in time for Sagittarius. And when that energy returns to source, it will be transmuted. So there's a few distractions going into the Sagittarius reading. Let's see what is going on. Nothing major, but worth noting. Always worth noting. Let's see. We've got... Let me write down your timestamp. Whatever you once in a while my camera does that with the focus being off. Let's look back here in the past, Sagittarius. We have the Two of Swords in the upright, and that is the middle decan of the sign of Libra, which is ruled by Saturn. Saturn in Libra is establishment having to do with equanimity. So people who have Saturn in Libra, I believe my Saturn is in Libra. I have to check my leg. That's where I have all my signs tattooed. So balancing things out in an evaluation process, which would be this choice that we're looking at here with the Two of Swords, where you have the balance of fire energy and water energy, the sun and moon, depicted in several places. We have these figures balancing on either side of these worlds, the caduceus. And this card indicates that there was a choice to be made between two somewhat equal paths. So not necessarily that one was better than the other. You might like one better than the other, but all things considered, they pretty much weigh each other out. And because this card is in the upright, it could be that you've been presented with this choice in the past and you're still evaluating it. It could be a choice that you have made recently, or that the effects of it have been recent. So here in the place of the significator, we have the Knight of Swords, and he's showing up reversed. So this is Gemini energy. Gemini has a lot to do with duality. And where we're looking at the Knight of Swords, we're looking at this very binary type of discernment. So right and wrong. This person's a Republican, therefore they're a fascist. This person's a Democrat, therefore they're also a fascist. Just get rid of all of them. Not to get political or anything. I don't really care about that. But when I say that, I mean it in a way that the Knight of Swords can be someone who's very polarized, who very much brings politics into a lot of issues, who very much tries to separate things into yes and no answers. And there's not a lot of room for gray area in between. And where we see that in the reverse, in the place of the significator, there might be a tendency that you have at this time, Sagittarius, to be throwing the baby out with the bathwater because it doesn't necessarily fit into these two neatly defined boxes that you have preordained. Now, crossing this is the Queen of Discs, which is Capricorn energy. Capricorn, all about making that money, right? Neighboring sign, cardinal energy. And we know that the Queen of Discs is very powerful because she is holding the tarot indicator for very powerful people, which is the Holy Hand Grenade. And she is somebody who plants the seeds, waters the seeds, watches them grow, watches the proliferation of these crops within the field. And it's a very fertile energy. It's a very, it's water of earth energy. So we're watering the fields, we're watching the crops grow. And that can be pregnancy, that can be your bank account, that can be literally agriculture. So you might be in a situation right now where you are able to have that kind of hardline discernment on things because you are coming from a place of some privilege, which is not necessarily bad, but it's good to recognize that. We're not going to talk about the oppression Olympics here or anything like that, but bringing up the Knight of Swords does have a tendency to be a bit polarizing anyway. So I'm merely trying to describe the situation. So, as I've mentioned before, I like to imagine that on top of my Celtic cross spread, I have a 12 houses wheel, and down here at the bottom we're looking at the Imam Silai. And that Imam Silai is going to tell us a lot about the origins of our destiny and the foundations upon which our goals will be able to be built, right? And we have the lovely and beautiful Empress showing up here in all her splendor and glory. She is wearing this girdle, which contains the entirety of humanity. She, of course, has many mammary glands with which to feed all of us. The eternal mother, the universal genetrix. And in this deck, she is still associated with Venus energy. She kind of has her foot here on the moon. So that is showing that, while most mortal women have these cycles that are tied to the moon, the Empress is the one who controls all of that. And she's showing you the bounty of nature. She's showing you the trees, the water, the hills. Showing you everything within her creation. This is a very similar energy to this Queen of Discs. So they are not necessarily planetarily aligned. Venus isn't totally foreign to Capricorn, but is not necessarily like, they're not correspondent to each other really. Through trines and squares both, because Venus, of course, is Taurus and Libra. So Capricorn is square to Libra, but it's trine to Taurus. So we do see like a lot of proliferative, creative, fertile energy. It could be regarding finances. It can also be regarding projects. Some of you Sagittarius, it might be a pregnancy, but it's a general reading, so it's not going to be that for everybody. From your perspective, hi, who's you? Thank you for coming. It's good to see you. We have this 8 of Pentacles. So this is going to be the third decan of fellow mutable sign Virgo. And this is Virgo ruled by Venus. Very fastidious energy, having to do with one's finances. And the 8 of Discs can be about long-term career prospects. So we see that showing up for you in the upright, in your perspective, Sagittarius, that you feel like whatever this particular situation is, where we have the Queen of Pentacles, we've got the Empress, that this is going to be long-term career energy for you. And that is entirely possible. But let's keep reading. So here from an outsider's perspective, we have you, Sagittarius, showing up in your reading as the King of Wands. King of Wands is air of fire energy, and it does say Leo down here. So King of Wands can also be associated with your fellow fire sign of Leo, but generally King of Wands can be any of the fire signs. So air of fire means that this fire is being sustainably stoked by that active energy of air. We do have the moon showing up here. Some of you might have a moon in Leo. The King of Wands has all of this great energy of, or great knowledge rather, of the correspondences. He is holding this wand that's very similar to the arrow of the centaur of Sagittarius. And this is a very creative energy. Someone very creative, very charismatic. Someone who leads through that creativity and charisma. So now we see you kind of separated in other people's eyes from this very binary thinking. That other people don't really see your discernment as being binary. They see it as being very, like, things are creative, things are flexible, things are moving around a lot, and yet you're still able to maintain control of those things. Here in the future, we do have the Knight of Pentacles upright, and that is, again, mutable sign Virgo energy. So where you see that this is a long-term career situation, I think this Knight of Pentacles showing up in the future is reinforcing that for you, because we have this Virgo energy showing up in both places in a favorable light. Knight of Pentacles can represent that money is coming toward you quickly. And we do already see that potential with the Queen of Discs and the Empress. So if you have started to set this thing up, but you haven't been seeing the payout is coming. And I think you do see it in the future, Sagittarius. Here in your hopes and fears. This can also be cautions in the reading. We have the Three of Pentacles in the reverse, and this is going to be the last decan of Capricorn, which is ruled by Mercury. So business agreements, meetings, brainstorming sessions having to do with work. And the Three of Discs is not just about group work, but is also about your professional reputation. So where we see this card showing up in the reverse in your hopes and fears, you're afraid either that in group settings you won't come across the way that you want to come across, or that your professional reputation has in some way been tarnished. But I don't see any evidence of that here, Sagittarius. All I see for you is the foundation, very strong and sturdy and earth sign oriented foundation for the proliferation of wealth into your future. Up here in the midheaven, Sagittarius, we have the Hierophant card, which in this deck is associated with fellow fire sign Aries. The Hierophant in this deck is given almost more power than the Emperor, because the Hierophant does not just command the people, but literally the sun, the moon, the earth, the stars. He can create demons. He can lay fertile lands to waste. He can turn wastelands and deserts into an agricultural center. Here we see this Saturn and Earth being controlled by him. He is in constant communication with the higher power and acts as an intermediary between that higher power and the people. And we see the Great Bear constellation represented here too, the cosmos. So in this deck, this is action. This is power. This is the beginning of things coming through with this Aries energy. And Hierophant can have to do with things like the status quo, the overall prevalent morals of a society, and can also have to do with the traditional institution of marriage. So that could be something if this Empress card to you represents a love interest in your life, could be a man or a woman or a non-binary person. Empress is divine feminine energy, but that would be within the context of your own relationship. You would know more about it than I. So that Hierophant could represent a marriage if that's the case for you. But of course, this is a general reading. The Hierophant does represent a natural order, such that things kind of fall into place. And the final outcome for you today, Sagittarius, is the Judgment card. And the Judgment card in this deck is associated with the sign of Saturn, with the planet Saturn. We have this person who has become deceased. We have these two figures who are helping the soul, represented by the sun and moon, the two halves of this person's soul. They're helping that to ascend up here into the heavens by merit of the angel Gabriel blowing the trumpets. He is acting as the intermediary. We also have in the background here the Magen David, the seal of Solomon, however you choose to denote that symbol of the two triangles interwoven with each other, which is the upright triangle of fire and the inverted triangle of water, depicting that alchemy of the two parts of one's spirit. So really, we're not necessarily looking at these binary things. We're looking at the many facets, the oppositions between the many facets coming into harmony and coming into homeostasis. And even in this case, equilibrium, because this person is in fact deceased and they are allowing their spirit to leave their body in order that it might ascend to the next plane. So there will be some trial. There will be some evaluation for you, Sagittarius, in the near future, that will lead to this seat of power for you. And that will be what carries you into this very established energy that you're seeking in the future. And that's all I really have to say for the Sagittarius reading today. It was quite a good one. I think you win fire signs this week, Sagittarius. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you who have joined me here for the fire sign reading this week. I am going to go over to the members side of the channel now, and I'm going to do the crystal scrying for general fire sign energy as the extended reading. So if that interests you, you are cordially invited. But of course, your presence is appreciated in whatever form it takes here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I greatly appreciate your support, those of you who watch during the live stream, and those of you who watch after the live stream, those of you who are channel members, and those of you who are subscribed. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you again. Oh, thank you. All the information is down in the description box below. Have a wonderful week. I will see you again very soon.